In my last tutorial, I showed you how to make this bracelet. This one, this is the one I made, and this is my original design. So today I'm going to show you how to make the necklace to match, and I'm going to make it to match this bracelet since I made this one in the last tutorial. But as you can see with this one, I just used some clear crystal and it turned out really cute. I also used a drop here. I'm not going to use a drop in my next one, but it's very simple. You just get a little top drilled crystal like this one, and you can just drop it down, and I'll show you in the tutorial the options that you can do. Anyway, let's go ahead and see what it takes to make one of these necklaces. For this project, I've decided to go ahead and try a drop, but this time I'm going to use a much bigger drop than I did in the clear necklace because the rondelles are bigger. This is about 22 millimeters long and about 10 or 11 millimeters wide. And you can get these at Fire Mountain Gems. That's where I got this one. I'm also going to use some 5mm bicone crystals, simply because 4mm will not fit on 18 gauge wire, and that's what we are using today. So you can use anything you'd like, just like in the bracelet. I recommend watching the bracelet first and then making your necklace to match, because you can adjust the lengths according to what you use. This is a 5mm bicone crystal. It's a Swarovski and it's clear. This is a rondelle crystal and it is 5 or 6 millimeters by 8. So it's about 6 millimeters wide, and this way it's about 8 millimeters. These are 4mm round metal beads, and they have a little bit wider hole. They're just like a 6/0 seed bead. You can use a 6/0 seed bead instead of these. If you like the metallic, get it in a metallic tone. Tohos work really well because they are pretty much the same size in a 6/0 as these are. Then we're going to be using some jump rings. These are a heavier gauge jump ring, nice strong jump ring. You want to make sure you don't use a really flimsy jump ring. These are 6 millimeters in diameter, and you will need several of those. I bought them at Hobby Lobby. They're the I think it's called Jewelry Store or Jewel Store, I think is what it's called. It's let me throw that on the floor. It's this brand, Jewelry Shop brand. And I will be using some 18 gauge wire. This I also got at Hobby Lobby, and it is wire, I think it's called On a Wire, the brand. And it's very affordable, and it's nice firm wire. It's not dead soft. It's a little bit firmer, which works really well for this particular design. But you can use any wire you have. Just make sure it's not like dead soft aluminum, because it won't hold its shape that well. Just have an 18 gauge wire. I'm going to, for this necklace, I'm going to use a lobster claw clasp. You're going to need flat nose, you're going to need wire cutters, and round nose, and chain nose, and nylon nose pliers, and a flush cutter. Now you don't, oh, I already had a flush cutter out there. Now you don't necessarily have to have your nylon nose, and you don't necessarily have to have a flat nose, but they're very helpful for this project. You can just use 2 chain nose if that's all you have. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, to start this project, I am going to cut about 5 inches of wire for my center link that I'm going to make. I'm just going to straighten it out. This is what's good for why you need your nylon nose pliers. If not, you can straighten it out with your fingers. Just get it as straight as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I like to give mine just a slight curve too. So I'm going to measure 5 inches right here and cut it. Make sure your wire is flush cut on both sides. If not, use the flat side of your wire cutters to go ahead and trim the very end off. Now, curve it with your fingers a little bit, just slightly. I'm going to curve mine with my nylon nose pliers, just a nice slight curve like this. Doesn't have to be exact, just a nice little curve. And then we're going to grab our round nose pliers and a ruler. Just like in the bracelet, you're going to measure 1/2 inch on your ruler here for your link that you're going to make for your loop. So my measurement starts right here. I'm going to grab a hold of that, measure 1/2 inch. It is a 1/2 inch. If I said 1/4 inch, I mean 1/2 inch. I've been doing that lately. Now I'm holding on to my measurement right there. I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers. They work best. If you have chain nose, go ahead and use them, but the flat nose works best. I can butt it up right against my nail and just turn this straight up like this. Now I have a kind of L-shaped wire. I'm going to bend that down just a little more, makes my loop a little better. And I'm going to put the long part with the curve up towards me on the inside of my fingers. I'm going to put the short part over the top of my index finger. I'm going to stay close for just a moment and then I'll move back a little bit just to stay in camera. But I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to place my wire about halfway down my round nose pliers. Now you may need to try this a couple of times just to see exactly where you need to place yours to make a loop that takes up your 1/2 inch of wire here. I'm going to go to the very end of my wire, place my pliers, and turn until I can't turn my wrist anymore, and then I'm going to move my wrist away from me, put it into that hook I just made, and take little short inching movements and just roll a loop. And I'm just rolling towards me, just very lightly moving my wrist. Now I can take my flat nose pliers because my roll is just a little bit off, and I can move that little piece right where I want it to be, making a perfect loop that touches the wire here, just like that. So you can straighten out your loop if you get it bent a little funny. You can open, you can close it with this, and that's what that should look like. Now I'm going to start putting on beads. Now I have not made this necklace yet, and it's going to be a little bit different count than my previous necklace because I'm using different beads. So what I want to do is I want to arrange my beads. I want to center my drop right in the middle, and I want to retain a 1/2 inch of wire for my loop. So I may have to put it on a couple of times just to see what I get. But I'm going to start with my 4mm round beads, and I think I'm going to use like 2 of them, and maybe 3. Conserve a little crystal here. I'll put 3 of those on. And then I think I'm going to put like, let's see. And some of your crystals will not fit well over your wire. You just need to find the ones that will. 4mm won't work. 5mm and 6mm generally do, but I've still found a few that do not. I'm going to put maybe maybe 6 crystals on. And then I'm going to put on a metal bead, and then I'm going to put on a rondelle, and then I think I'll do a crystal, and my drop. See if I like the way that looks. Maybe I just want to put the drop right next to the rondelle. Let me see. Just arrange whatever beads you have any way you want to do it. No particular way, doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you know how to make the links. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side that I did on that side. So I'm going to pick up this metal one and then 6 of my bicone crystals and see where I end up. If it's too long, I'll have to take it apart and do it again. If it's not quite long enough, I can cut my wire, or if I have too much wire, I can cut my wire so that I have a 1/2 inch. So you can always adjust this to accommodate whatever you're putting on here. It doesn't have to be exact lengths, just as long as you have the beads you want and your 1/2 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let's see what happens if I pick up 3 of these. And let me see if I have a 1/2 inch wire. It looks like I just might. I may have just muddled my way right through that. Let's see. Hold your beads so that they don't move, so you get a accurate reading here. It might be just a tad long, but I don't even think it's long enough to trim. If I had a bunch of extra, I would trim it, but it's definitely fine. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to make sure I'm holding it to where this loop is vertical, so it's up and down like this, and I am going to grab my flat nose pliers right at the end of my beads here. Make sure it's tight right up to the end of my beads, and I have my curve down towards my bead mat, and I'm just going to turn this wire straight down towards my bead mat like that. Now I again have my L shape. I can lay the inside of my piece to the inside of my fingers, lay the short piece over my forefingers, and do the same curve. So now I am going to place it in the middle of my pliers just like I did before, and I'm going to turn as far as I can, and then I'm going to twist my wrist around like this. So I'm twisting it away from me and staying right inside that loop, and then I'm going to inch my loop over. And then close it. So I can grab my, it looks like this is just a tiny bit too long, so I can even doctor that. I'll take my pliers here, or not my pliers, my cutters, and just cut the very end of that off. Grab my round nose pliers again and bring that in. You have to do it gently. You don't want to mar your wire and do all kinds of weird stuff, but now I have a better loop, more of a closer size. It might be a little smaller than the other one, and I can also doctor that up a little bit. I can just open it slightly, stick my pliers in a little bit further, and then close it slightly. You can't do a huge change, but you can do tiny changes without totally destroying your piece. And if it's a little bit smaller, a little bit different size than the other side, it's not a huge deal. I can always trim a little bit off this end and make them exactly the same, which is what I might do. So you can always doctor it up a little bit. Doesn't have to be exact. Now I'm just going to take this and bend it so that it has a little bit more of a curve. I like the way it looks, and that is going to be my centerpiece. Now I need to make probably 4 more pieces that are probably 3 inches long, and then I'll make 2 that are a little shorter to go in the back. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make the next piece that you need to make here. We are going to put this aside. And this time I'm going to cut about a 4-inch piece of wire. Let me grab my wire, and I am just going to straighten out a piece. And you can make the links any length you want. You just have to work it out to where it actually turns into a necklace that's going to fit. So I'm going to cut this right at probably 4 inches. And maybe, let me see, maybe 3.5. I don't want that to be quite that long, so I think I'll go 3.5 inches. And I'm going to cut this. There's a lot of room to play in this necklace. You don't have to do it exactly the same way I'm doing it. It's just the process that's important. And I'm going to flush cut the end, And then I am going to slightly curve my wire. Make sure this end is flush cut also. And then I am going to do the same thing. Always just whatever your length you're using, you are going to go ahead and cut an 1/2 inch of wire. So place it right where the measurement starts, grab that 1/2 inch, put your pliers right up at your measurement, and then I have my curve going up towards the ceiling. I'm going to just bend straight back. And this is what you should have. Just lay it in your hand like this, long part against your fingers, short part over your forefinger. Grab your pliers at the very end of the wire and about the middle of the plier. Depending upon your pliers, like I said, you're going to have to try this a couple of times to make sure that your measurement comes out to a nice loop, because all the pliers are different. So I'm going to go ahead and start turning until I get a loop. This is my loop. Then I'm going to twist my wrist back around, and I'm just going to start moving my pliers, inching them very slightly down the wire, and just turning until I get a nice loop, just like that. Now I can go ahead and close my loop by opening it and shimmying it over like this and close it. Then I will decide exactly how I want to put my beads on my next section. I won't have a drop, so I'll probably just go ahead. I'm not even sure I like this one. It's kind of funky looking. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and arrange my beads on here. So I will pick up 2 of my metal beads and then just start putting some crystals on. And then I'll put a rondelle, and then a crystal, and a rondelle, and then maybe 3 more of my bicones. You don't have to put a drop. You don't have to put crystal. You can put seed beads. I started one with just seed beads, just like this, see? So you can do anything you'd like. Now I have the arrangement I want. I probably have more than a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut my link down. Now each link I make after this, I will make 3 more exactly the same like this. So I'll just remember what I cut the same, and then just doctor it at the end. So I'm going to hold my beads tight, and then I'm going to cut it 1/2 inch right here. Let me do that again. Make sure your beads aren't moving around. And I'm going to grab right here, and I'm going to flush cut this right here. And then I will grab my piece. I have the curve towards me. I'm going to hold my flat nose tight against my beads and just, well, not really tight, but you know, right against your beads, and just bend the wire out. Now, don't bend it so far that you break your beads or anything. Don't put too much tension on them. And then I'm going to, again, lay this part towards the inside of my hand, this part over the top of my fingers, go to the very end of my wire, in the middle of my pliers, turn until I can't turn anymore, and then move my wrist, my hand out away from me until I'm in the crook of the wire I made, and then I'm just inching my plier down just slightly and turning a loop. And then I can close it. Just like that. And then I can take this and bend it up. So I've got my loops flat against my bead mat, and I'm just making like a smiley face shape. And then this will be the next link here, just like this. And then I'll make one more for over here and two more for over here, exactly the same. And then we'll see if we need to make shorter links for the back or if we just want to put an extender on it. So go ahead and make 3 more of these links just like the one that you made, so they don't have to be just like mine, but make sure that you make 3 more identical to this one. Quick note, just for reference, if you're wondering, oh, well, I don't know exactly what size it needs to be. It should be basically half the size, a little bit more than half the size of your main component. So whatever you made this size, make it just a little bit more than half the size of that component, and you will have an appropriate measurement for your necklace. Okay, so I've made my 4 smaller components, and I'm just kind of laying them out to see how big of a necklace I'm going to get here. We want this to be just collar length. It won't look right if it's a real long necklace. So if you're very small, this is big enough. This is 16 inches. You can put a little extender on the back by putting several jump rings and your lobster claw, and I'll show you how to do that, and you're fine. Now, if you're a little bit bigger than that, you can put a much longer extender and still stay right here. Or we can make 2 more smaller pieces and then put our extender on. So I want mine to be about 18 inches. So what I will probably do is go ahead and make 2 small pieces and put my clasping on. I could just go ahead and make a long extender, but I think I'm going to go ahead and make 2 more small pieces. But this is the way you're going to judge how you're going to make your necklace. Now, it could be even smaller. I could have too much space in between that my jump rings will take up. And 16 inches is just a little too tight for me. I don't like that. I like mine to be 18 inches. So I'd have to go to the 9 on either side to get 18 inches. So let's go ahead and make 2 little smaller pieces. So if it's even a little bit bigger than 18 inches, that's fine. But I don't want it to be much bigger than that. So make your components, lay them out, measure them, see where you're at, and decide whether you need to do the next part or not. And I will show you how to make a couple of smaller ones, and then we will hook them all together and see what we've got. So I think I'm going to make this unit right here like I did for my bracelet. So what I am going to do, or actually I think I made my bracelet a little different than this one, maybe not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten out a piece of wire and cut just a little over 2 inches, probably like 2 1/4, like right about there, 2 1/4. And I am going to flush cut it. Well, I'll have to flush cut it because I don't have them the right direction. So I will then flush cut the end, make sure this side is flush cut as I fling wire all over my beading room here. And then I'm just going to make a smaller link just like this one. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I've been doing. I'm going to measure 1/2 inch right here. And I am going to grab my right here, like this, Gina. Duh. I've done this 40 times and I just forgot. I'm going to grab my flat nose pliers, put it right here at my measurement, and bend it over. Just like that. And then I'm going to lay this over my fingers, just like I've been doing. Long part inside, short part over my forefingers. Go to the middle of my pliers and the end of my wire and make a hook. And then turn my wrist back around like this. And let me get you close, just so you can see it done one more time. And then I'm going to start inching my pliers down a little bit and just keep turning it until I have a loop. It's still open a little, so let me turn it again. And then I can just take my flat nose and close it. Like that. And then I'm going to pick up. Now that's going to take a little practice. Don't get discouraged. Just cut a couple short pieces of wire and practice that first until you can get down how to do it. Because it takes just a little bit of practice. So then I'm going to pick up a metal bead. Then I'm going to pick up a crystal and a metal bead. Oh, come on. And a rondelle, and a metal bead, and a crystal, and a metal bead. And I should have half an inch left over. Let's see. And I do. So then I'm just going to grab a hold of it, just like this, bend it straight over. Then again, I'm going to grab my pliers and start to roll. Now, I'm moving my hand, twisting it, and I'm just going to close that. And now, if you get them to where they're not even on both sides, I wasn't paying too close attention this time, you can grab one end with one pair of pliers and the other end with the other and straighten them out so that they're exactly the same, like this. And then just do your smiley face curve, just like that. And now I have two shorter links to put in the back of my necklace. And this is just about, without the curve, let's see, let me straighten it back out. It's about 1.5 inches long. So now I have given myself just a little bit more length for my necklace. I was about 1 inch short, so this will be good. So now I will lay out how I want to hook my necklace together. And once I have it laid out, I will start opening jump rings and hooking them together. And then I will shape it after I'm done to make it look exactly how I want it. So, let me get you in here. So now I've got these two laying together like this. We're going to add 2 jump rings to each link. Now I want to make sure that this is turned the proper way. And I'm going to start linking these together. So, you get your jump ring, find where your split is in your jump ring. Get you real close. The split is right there. I'm holding onto half of the jump ring with my flat nose plier. I'm going to grab my chain nose plier and I am going to twist like this. Just twist it open, just like that. And then I'm going to put it on my links. And then I'm going to close it by twisting it back the opposite direction. Shimmy it a little bit, make sure it's nice and flush, and lay it down just like that so that you know how you want your link to be. And then grab another jump ring, find the split again, crank it open, and then I'm just going to try to go through. If you leave them laying down, it's a little easier. I've got my drop in the way. I'm going to go through both of these links right here, just like that. And then I'm going to close it. Okay, let me do that again. Move that one out of my way. Grab both of them. Oh, the necklace is heavier. So let's try this one more time. Well, you know, if I was not on camera, this would not happen because, you know, it's just not quite so entertaining to the universe. It's got to mess with me a little. Okay, so I'm going to do this way and then go through the 2 links and hold them very tightly and then I am going to shut the jump ring, just like that. Now, I'm going to make sure everything is the proper direction, just like that. Then I'll lay out my next link, and you can either do this side or continue one side completely. I'll lay out this link, connect it, and then, I guess you can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to lay out this one, connect it, then I'll lay out this one and connect it. Now I have my links curved a little differently. See, when I laid this down, see how it's curved differently? I'm going to have to flatten it back out, lay it next to this, and then curve it the proper way. So you want it like a smiley face. You don't want it up. So if it's laying on your bead pad, you just want to curve it like a smiley face, like this, so that your links are flush with your pad. You don't want to bend it up like we did for the bracelet. You want to bend it like this. Okay, so make sure they're all basically the same, and we'll lay out together well and start hooking them together. Okay, so I put my two smaller links on the back, and it is just slightly over 18 inches. So that's perfectly fine for me. It's going to work out just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take like 4 jump rings and put single jump rings together on one side, and then I'm going to put 1 jump ring and my lobster claw clasp on the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open a jump ring, find the split here, there it is, and open a jump ring, and then I'm just going to put another jump ring on there, and then I'll open another jump ring. And you can make your extender as long as you want. I'm just going to make mine like 4, maybe 5 links. That way I have an option of where I want to clasp it. And that one's not closed. Close that. And this one I'll just hook to the side. And I could make it longer if I want to, but I don't think I need it any longer. I don't really even need that much of an extender, to tell you the truth. But I'm going to go ahead and make one just so I can show you how to do it. And like I said, you could put a couple more on there if you wanted to. It doesn't truly matter. Maybe I will. I'll put a couple more, and then I'm going to make a little crystal bobble to put on the end here. And I'll put 6 jump rings. That's more like a actual extender. And then I am going to grab a jump ring and put my lobster claw on this side. And close my jump ring. And then I'm going to see if I have a little head pin close by. Grab one of these. And it has the little ball on the end. So it's kind of wrinkled up. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to grab a crystal. And then I will grab my chain nose pliers. I'll hold on to where the crystal is right here. And I'm just bending my wire over the top of my pliers, and then I'm going to move my pliers into that bend, and then bring my wire over the top of my pliers, and then kind of turn my pliers so that I can bring it down and around like that. I have a little loop now, and then I'm going to grab a hold of that loop and just start turning this wire. This is soft wire, so I can do it with my fingers, but it's not quite neat enough, so I'm going to use my pliers and just turn some wire around this little bobble here and get it as far as I want it. Then I will cut it off. Grab my chain nose pliers and poke that little end in. Squeeze it in, which can always be tricky. Okay, I got that in. And then I will just open this jump ring. Pop this on here. Close my jump ring. Straighten everything out. These little links like to twist, so you just have to straighten them. And let me show you what I've got. Get my bead mat cleaned up here. It's a disaster. And I can hook this lobster claw wherever I want to. And I hook it on the second one or third one or something like that. Like that. Straighten it all out. And then you can look at each link, and if you feel like you need to adjust them a little bit, bend them a little bit, whatever you think you need to do to make a nice round shape, you can do that. It's not too bad. I'm not going to adjust it too much, but you can bend them a little bit and make them look just like you want them to look. They are adjustable to a point. So you can do that, and then let me see if I can find my bracelet, and I'll show you the set. And here's my little bracelet. Get it all straightened out here. And that is my little set. I hope you like it. And that is the end of this tutorial. Have a good night and enjoy making yourself some pretty little links. Bye-bye.